Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about skills outside of programming. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, as a software engineer, has your skills outside of programming ever helped you with your programming? Yes, many times. It, it depends a little bit on what we mean if we talk about like actual hard coding programming skills, or if we just talk about the entire software development experience. So something that I like to remind software developers about is that learning how to program is similar to learning how to play an instrument. And anybody who's ever learned how to play an instrument will understand me, hopefully, when I say that that's just the first part of your journey. Because once you know how to use the instrument, well, now you have to learn how to play songs, or now you need to play something. And for programmers, it's the same thing. It's like any craftsman. If you learn how to build things, well, now you're going to have to figure out what to build. And the skills that you have outside of programming, or things that you know about, are usually the thing that you're going to take with you when you start programming. And as I like to say, the core and like the heart and soul of what a software developer does is to look at the problem, usually a physical problem or something like that, but you just understand a problem or a process or something like that, and kind of go, I wonder what happens, or if I could make this into code somehow. And then you try to make it into code. And that's pretty much how, that's all you do. You convert things into code so that you have a program of some sort that either does things faster or allows you to do things you couldn't do, or etc., etc. That's what you do. So a lot of practically every skill that you could possibly imagine, like guys, every single startup that was ever created is basically down to this exact thing, where you have someone who has some type of domain knowledge about anything almost, and kind of goes, it would be really nice if we could make an app for that. And then they find a software developer. Done. There you have it. Now you have your first startup. And so even for programmers, it's sort of the same thing, right? But if we're going to talk about like hard skills, I would say that the thing that has helped me the most with the skills that I have outside of programming that has helped me the most with programming is that you may, or I'm not sure if you know this, or you probably don't know this, but once upon a time before I became a software developer, in ancient times I used to move furniture, and then when I decided that I didn't want to do that anymore, I decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to be a teacher. Because I've been a teacher I've been a martial arts. I was a martial arts instructor when I was like 17, something like that, and was doing that for a while. And then, most of my education was in teaching and education and so forth and so forth. And then I decided to try to become a teacher, and then I realized that, hey, you know what, maybe I don't want to do that either. And then basically I was kind of drifting around a while because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then my friend sent me a course on PHP development, and then everything else is kind of history because it led up to this exact moment. But that has probably been the most important skill that I have ever learned that helps me in programming, teaching, being a mentor, or understanding how to connect with people in a way, learning how to write software in a way that I know is going to be comprehensible to other people. Knowing how to structure good documentation, for example, so that I know that if I tell this person, hey, we have these docs over here, can you go and read them? That I know that they're not going to feel stupid for going in there and seeing that, hey, I don't understand anything. Because guys, I have never seen almost never, it's very rare that I find anybody who writes documentation or things like that in a way that makes it comprehensible. I also find very few software companies where they have teams where the people working there actually write down things like playbooks or ways of like checklists and stuff like that, and guides to do certain things and so forth, because it's not something that the average person thinks about. They don't think about teaching people how to work in the environment. They think about just, hey, I know this shit, so they can just ask me. And that's the thing that I learned from studying basically to become a teacher for quite a few years, and doing it for many years as a coach as well. And so the coaching part has been invaluable to me. I would even credit it with most of the hard coding skills, the coding that I do is, that's a different thing. But now that I find it less common that I just do the coding, and I do both the coding and the architecture and the leadership and like all of that stuff. As soon as you get to that level, those skills become invaluable, because the main problem for a leader or like a tech leader or something like that is usually to convert your thoughts, or if you're an architect or so forth, to make sure that the transfer of your thoughts over to the next person, that nothing is lost in translation. And that is exactly what the teacher does. That is the end goal of every single teacher, to take their knowledge, everything they know, all their experience, and put it in the head of somebody else. And learning how to do that has been the number one most valuable thing I have ever learned. So that is like not a core programming thing, and it helps me on a daily basis. I would even go as far as to say that I have a lot of successes that I've had, because I usually was working with this company where I very quickly became fairly, let's just say, an office name, and people started reaching out for various products. It was a big company, and I think before I hadn't even worked there for a year, and I think all the section heads for the different departments had in one way or another asked me to leave my current role and start working for them instead. And it comes down to that exact thing, because I was handed this product which was allegedly just a kind of shitty hackathon type of thing. And as my manager said to me, you turned it around. And I said yes, because of one part is that I've had enough experience. I know how to write decent software, but the main thing is that I know how to set up a team and coach people into working as a team. Like, I know how to set things up so that they actually get the guidance that they need in order to do a good job. And that is all down to the fact that I've been coaching people how to throw a punch since I was 17. And then, of course, learning how to teach people and so forth and so forth. And then there's like a bit of personal social skills and so forth, of course, as well. But I would say I would put that. I would probably have other skills as well that I can't really think about, but that would be the main skill that I would argue for. So what I want you to take away from this is that my number one skill that is not programming but has helped me enormously with programming is teaching. How do you coach people? How do you teach people to do something? And teaching is a skill. You could even go as far as to call it a talent if you want to, but it's an enormously useful skill to have. Mentoring people and knowing how to talk to people in terms that they understand and connect with people. I like to say that you need to be able to say the same thing in 5 different ways, so that you have, because when you have a classroom where you have students, each one of them is going to be you have to connect with them in different ways, because you can't say things in one way and then have everybody understand. They all function differently and they process information differently. And when you get like a sixth sense for how to structure things in a way where you know that each person who goes through the materials that you create is going to understand very quickly how things work, because it is that sensation of understanding how things work that is the heart and soul of what you do as a teacher, because you're transferring knowledge basically, and try to lose as little as possible within that transaction. If you do that effectively, practically every technical vision you have as an architect or a tech lead or so forth will work out. You will be able to trust that all your people will know how to run the team without you. You will be able to create efficient documentation so that people don't get stuck just because you're not in the office. All of that sort of stuff comes very organically if you know how to do this well. And that is not very important when you're a junior, a mid-level, or even in many cases as a senior. But if you ever want to lead other developers in any format, it is invaluable to be able to do that. Have a great day.